What's up, motherfuckers? Welcome back to another episode of the Low Life motherfucking Chopper Podcast.
What's up, you crusty wimps?
We're back on a new platform, baby.
It's new.
It.
It's looking crispy.
I love this platform.
Yeah, let's hope it works.
So
We're gonna keep our reviews till the end and see if it actually fucking works.
Yeah, as right now, I love it. Stay tuned to next week, and we'll let you know what we really think.
Yeah,
but so far so good. I like it. Knock on wood.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it definitely so far has been working. And we actually got in touch with customer service because we had a little test recording we did before. Evan helped me out. It was an easy fix. So if it works, this is what we're going to look like from now on.
Much better than that Riverside shit.
Yeah. And I will be sending a nasty gram to them. So
a nasty gram.
That's office talk for mildly scathing email that they'll just fucking delete immediately.
Yeah, won't even open it. Like, oh my god, this guy again.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize it's his internet speed.
Yeah, but this platform too is designed. So we're on StreamYard, where it's designed for doing live content. So hopefully this year, we'll be bringing that to you guys too, if it's easy. I got to figure it out. There's pretty steep learning curve here. But that would be cool to be able to do some live stuff and comment. And it seems like you can comment and it shows up in the episode too, as well as
it shows up in the episode.
Yeah, you can actually see what people are commenting, and you can pull people in too. So like it's easy. It's designed for that, to like have a live interactive streaming thing, so you can bring people in on calls, you can have people comment, it shows it. But yeah, just learning how to use this fucking thing, but it seems to be working pretty good, and I'm happy because the last fucking 6 weeks, 8 weeks, it's been a week. It's been a struggle, dude.
Hell.
So, yeah. So we'll see how it goes.
Who's not IT friendly whatsoever, trying to figure out fucking bandwidths and fucking all kinds of shit.
Oh yeah, clearing caches and fuck that shit.
Too much.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys like it. But give us some feedback if it, definitely like quality wise, we don't want to lose the quality. So if you shouldn't be able to hear Loctite's pellet stove this week.
Yeah.
We just went through that, and it totally.
And hopefully didn't mute the streaming. We'll see.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see in the post, but yeah, we can always peek those. I mean, we can always like edit just your voice track and just like crank that shit up.
Yeah. Or I can shut the background noise after the intro.
There you go. But we got got a bunch of people messaging us like, what the fuck's that alarm in the background? Or what's that fucking beeping? And I think we discovered it when we were doing the Laddie episode with Dan. We were all sitting next to the pellet stove, and I'm like, that sounds familiar, and I think it's the auger for the pellet stove, just like kind of metal on metal, just like screech.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, when you live in the fucking Northeast, can't be doing episodes when it's 32 degrees with no heater.
Yeah, dude.
It's a necessity.
I got my pellet stove on. Yeah, you got to keep toasty, bro.
But in the summer, I'll have a fucking AC going. So I'm glad we got this background noise button.
True, yeah.
There's no just like comfortable weather.
I know, just being uncomfortable all the time.
Yeah,
that's how it is being a New England man. You're wet, you're cold, people are kind of mean, socially uncomfortable.
We're aggressive.
Yeah.
So, before we jump into housekeeping, this is the final episode to the Chopping 101 series. I can't even call it a mini series anymore. It's gone 5 weeks.
Yeah. We kept on extending it. At first, we're like, yeah, we'll probably do 3 episodes. And then 3 became 4. And then 4 became 5. We might even need to do another mini series of like Chopper 201 or something.
Yeah.
More advanced shit.
Yeah. People have been digging it.
Yeah, thanks everybody for fucking reaching out and being like, dude, this is the shit. And in fact, these Choppin episodes skyrocketed to the top of the charts, top 10, all of them.
Yeah.
So really appreciate people reaching out and being like, hey, you got this wrong. And, like, or hey, this is my experience, or even just being like, dude, this is the shit. That really means a lot to us. So fucking, I'm glad you guys are stoked on it. And hopefully it's helping people. It's definitely inspiring people. I can't tell you how many people just messaged me to just be like, finally dug into this thing, been listening to it and finally dug into my 94 fucking, whatever.
Yeah. It's getting people excited.
Yeah. And that gets me excited, dude, because like, I don't have a project this year, but I can't wait to see what everybody's working on, like I want to see what everybody's doing, and just stoked that you guys are getting stoked.
Fuck yeah. Housekeeping. Let me pull this up. I should have been fucking more prepared, but that's not really my style.
We fly by the seat of our pants.
That's it. The La Espada Chopper Show, Saturday, May 4th, 2024, 576 Primrose Street, Haverhill, Mass. You know where it's at. It's where all the fucking La Espada shows are. Super dope show. This is probably one of my favorites. For a day show, La Espada fucking puts on. It's at like what is that, a VFW or a Legion or some shit? And they have a bar upstairs, a bar downstairs, choppers upstairs, choppers downstairs, choppers outside, vendors inside, live music inside. It's fucking legit. And it's in the spring, like early spring. So you're brushing off all that fucking dust off the bike. You get to go ride when it's like semi nice out. Hang out with everybody, see what they've done for the fucking over the winter. Go check it out. Make sure you follow F6T9W on Instagram. That is the La Espada Instagram page. You can see all of their shows, swap meets, open houses, all that shit. So go give them a follow and tell them the boys from the Low Life Chopper podcast sent you. Fuck, I keep saying this every time, dude. I need to make the flyer for our show. I know it's so far away, but it makes it easier for me to find the fucking information on it.
It's only 5 months now.
I know. We need to start fucking planning that, by the way. We need to start like legit planning it.
I know, we're just like coming up with
a bunch of cool ideas, but let's start executing some of them.
We have to do it. It's the hard part.
June 8th is the Low Life Lowdown. Listen, if you came last year, you know how dope the fucking venue is. You know how good the food is. You know the beer choices are fucking litty like a titty. They got everything. They got hard alcohol. God, where the fuck is that picture of the last flyer, dude? I'm trying to get that goddamn address and I can't find it anywhere.
I'll guess again.
Yeah, don't guess. Can you see? Actually, if you just go to, I think if you go to my page, or here, I'll just do it since I'm already fucking doing it as I'm telling you.
This dude gets it first. Oh, got it. 232.
Caleb Highway, Epic, New Hampshire. Listen, it's a fucking blast. This year is going to be bigger and better. This year we have trophies for best chopper, best paint, best club style bike. Now that can be a Dyna, that could be a Softail, it could be a Road King, it can be a Road Glide, a Street Glide. It don't fucking matter. If you like motorcycles, come to this fucking show because there's some shit for you. There's gonna be raffles. Lots of fucking raffles. You know we step it up with that raffle game because we have amazing people that support this fucking show. There's going to be biker games this year. There's going to be a CeeLo table. There's going to be a live band playing outside, not just background noise like last year, a full-blown live cover band outside playing the entire fucking day. We're going to have food trucks again. Did I say raffles? Yeah, tons of fucking raffles. All proceeds of the raffles are going to Operation Purpose. Same motherfucker from last year, our homeboy Perry. Oh, by the way, Perry will be on next fucking week. Okay.
Oh, shit.
So you guys will get to hear a little bit about who Perry is, where he came from, what exactly his organization / charity does. So anyways, make sure you save the motherfucking date. Put in for the time now. June 8th, 2024. Here's the best part is it's the first day of fucking bike week. So you can hit our show Saturday and then Sunday before you scoot home, shoot up to Laconia and check out bike week. It's going to be dope as fuck. And if you want to get involved with the same charity that we like to help out with anything that we do, Operation Purpose on Instagram or operationpurpose.com. Essentially, it is a charity to shed light on veteran suicide. Perry is probably the coolest fucking dude I've ever met in my life. Actually gives a fuck about humans. I've met Perry once in my life, and I talk to Perry at least once a week now. Just a solid motherfucker. He's doing a trip around the country this summer, and that shit ain't fucking cheap. By the way, he's doing it on a fucking motorcycle. He's not driving in a car or fucking flying in a plane. He does this on a bike, delivering ashes from fallen fucking soldiers. It is one of the dopest charities that I've ever had the pleasure to work with. So if you want to help donate to that cause, go to operationpurpose.com or Operation Purpose on Instagram. Ask Perry how you can get involved. What else do we got, broski?
For housekeeping, we got a new monthly giveaway sponsor for the best month, arguably the best month of the entire year.
Definitely the best month, because without that month, this show wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Both our birthdays this month.
That's right. Both of your motherfucking hosts here were born in February. Matter of fact, my birthday was yesterday when you're listening to this. All right, bitches?
Oh, sheesh.
I'm now an antique. Fine wine. I'm fucking aged whiskey.
Yes. I'm like aged whiskey that like maybe the cork fell out and I went bad. I went sour. I'm definitely, the older I get,
does whiskey go sour
if it doesn't have a cork in it or some shit.
Dude, fuck you, Riverside. Ryan from Riverside emailing us while we use this fucking new app. Son of a bitch.
What is he saying? He want a piece?
I don't know. He's being a bitch. He doesn't know we're on StreamYard right now talking about our duck.
Yeah. If this works, I'm going to send you heard me. On God, I'm sending a nasty gram, fellas.
On God. So, anyways, this month's giveaway.
This month's giveaway sponsor, you heard him here on the Low Life Chopper podcast, Joel from Cornerstone Manufacturing on Instagram. Cornerstone Manufacturing.
Dope ass episode.
Yeah, dude. He's one of those real whiz bang kids. He's brains, and he like is innovating. He has all sorts of cool shit. But for the month of February, he's going to be giving away one of those Kydex seat pans.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So he's going to ship those out to me, and next week I'll be able to show them. But yeah, those things are like, that's just like an innovation in choppering, like Kydex seat pan. Like that's such a cool idea. So easy to make. Cool. Yeah. A lot of people are running them now too. I think Chicken Rick just got one too. I saw he posted one up. But I mean, dude, you can just form this thing with a hair dryer. So anyways, yeah.
Is it just a hair dryer?
Or a heat gun? Yeah. It doesn't take much. Yeah. And I forget what the episode name was, because I always give our episodes like silly names, but I'll pull it up here in a second. Actually, I'm not. It's
probably Kydex seat pan.
It's probably something clever. Where he's at Tennessee, right?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
My memory is fucking shot.
I probably won't even remember. It might have been before we got canceled.
Oh shit, that would suck.
Yeah. But we'll get that
probably
up
on YouTube.
We're gonna put that on our website. Yeah, it's definitely on. Oh yeah, it's on YouTube for sure.
Definitely on the boob tube.
Because they didn't cancel us. But
sure didn't.
Yeah, I'll get that up on the fucking shit. Well, I really want to know what the fucking thing was now.
Well, Ryan looks for that. That is this month's giveaway. The fucking mold it yourself seat pan. Super fucking cool. It comes cut out. You literally just put it on the frame and fucking heat that bitch up, and it forms to the frame, forms to your fender, does all that shit, and then you can send it to whoever's making your seat. Who has to counterbalance. I'm sure he'll like that because now he knows it's a fucking legit fit and not just some metal that you slammed around with a fucking ball peen hammer thinking you're a blacksmith.
It actually, so I just found the episode. It was the one after we got canceled. So it's called Cancel This Podcast.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So it was, he was the first guest of the new LCP. So
the new.
He's the one that really jumped this shit off. So yeah, go check out that episode. You can get it anywhere. Cancel This Podcast. Joel from Cornerstone Manufacturing sending us some dope ass seats. I'm excited to get one of those in my hand.
Dizzo. Also, we've had a couple people reach out about new sponsors for the show. It's the beginning of the year, just like we told you last time. So we go through all of our sponsors and ask them if they want to re-up. If they do not, then we have more spots on the show. If you want to get involved in the show and become a sponsor, hit up Low Life Chopper Podcast
on Instagram.
What's the email? Just hit up Rhino or Loctite at lowlifechopperpodcast.com.
Yeah. That's the email.
Yeah, that's the best way to not get it lost.
Yeah. In fact, someone reached out to us through Big Cartel. Like, just go to Low Life Chopper Pod. Go to lowlifechopperpodcast.com. We have our contact info there. Or anywhere you can find us on social media. Fucking, if you watch it on YouTube, I'll respond to you on YouTube. I get all that shit. So,
boom, right there.
Oh, look at you producing. Got a regular Jamie over here.
I love this fucking app. So if you want to become part of the show as a sponsor, listen, it's not. I'll tell you this: it's not super expensive, and there are different tiers. You can start it down here, up, and you can go higher and higher and higher. Now that we have this new platform, you can see we can have shit scrolling across the bottom of the fucking episode. So if you have a show coming up and you're like, hey, I need to pump the fuck out of this, you can just buy a 1 month fucking sponsorship and we can have it scrolling across the bottom of the fucking screen for the entire episode for 4 episodes. You're not going to get better fucking advertisement than that in the chopper community. It's just not going to fucking happen. Sorry to tell you. Anything like that. You're having a flash sale, you have a business, you want it scrolling across the entire fucking screen for the whole show, we can make it happen. Hit us up. Again, lowlifechopperpodcast.com has all of our contacts for everything. If you want to join the Patreon, go to lowlifechopperpodcast.com because it's fucking on there. You want to watch the episode, lowlifechopperpodcast.com. All right? YouTube, lowlifechopperpodcast.com. Everything is on
lowlifechopperpodcast.com.
All right? Everything you need for the show is on lowlifechopperpodcast.com. How many times can I say that in an episode? Not sure. At least one more, though. lowlifechopperpodcast.com.
Yeah, that won't be the last.
Ad read. I think that's it for housekeeping.
Except for Bump Shop Diaries. Because we're still running that coffee special, bud.
Yes. Go ahead. I have one more thing.
Yeah, if you get a camp mug or regular coffee cup from lowlifechopperpodcast.com from our big cartel store, I will email you a code for $5 off of the hardtail blend, whole bean or ground from Bump Shop Diaries.
Sheesh. I seen Dan just got some. Let's get a review.
Yeah, he put cream in it though.
Yeah, I know that was weird.
Oh,
That was
actually, I think he put milk in it.
Yeah, that was a weird thing for him to do. Also,
He's
on other news, if you remember from last week, we flipped a coin for Angel Claw pinstriping. She wasn't sure. Do I go Big Twin or I go fucking Evo Sporty? And the fucking coin doesn't lie. The coin wants the fucking Evo Sportsters just ruling the road. And I heard back from her. She said, hey, turns out I'm joining the fucking Sporty Chopper Club. And I already started ordering parts.
Yeah.
So she's well on her way to a fucking Sportster Chopper build. I am pumped. I cannot wait to see what she turns out. And again, if you're not already, go follow Angel Claw Pinstriping. She's an absolute beast. She does very nice shit pinstriping. So go check her out.
Yeah. And in fact, one of the missions of this show, it's in our mission statement, is to convert all Sportsters into choppers. So if you have an Evo Sportster and you got some springs dangling off the back, it's our mission to convert y'all to the hardtail, because it's, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say it's probably your safest bet. If you're getting into the chopper game, Evo fucking hardtail is the way to go. There's so much support out there in the videos and aftermarket parts. You can't go wrong. And then you have a bulletproof chopper. Nobody's going to be calling that motherfucker a ball hopper.
Oh, they probably will. I get that shit all the time. On the shelf, they're like, oh, dude, that's a nice fucking bar hopper. That's a nice fucking panhead you got. And I'm like, it's a shovel head, but all right, cool. I get what you're saying.
See, I've never had that random gas station guy get it like wrong. You know, they're always really surprised what year it is. You know, because I have an 03 and they're like, what year is that? And I'm like, an 03, but they don't know.
Yeah.
Like the 3 different motors Harley made over fucking like 75 years. So
yeah. Every time I've ever stopped at a gas station, nice knucklehead. I'm like, this is an Evo Sportster.
Yeah. If it was a knucklehead, I wouldn't be getting gas in the fucking slums, dude. I'd be at a nice gas station.
Yeah.
I'd be at like Heaven. I'm not at Heaven's Gas getting fucking, you know, on my. You don't want to risk it, you know.
Yeah, no risking it.
All Town, baby.
All
the
Town,
nicest gas stations.
I think that's it. I think we've now covered everything.
We have. All right, we'll see you motherfuckers next week.
23-minute show. Okay, so let's see if I can do this. Recap time, baby.
I bring up my notes.
Episode 1, drivetrain. We helped you decide which motor, which tranny. Well, we didn't help you. We just told you what to fucking look for. Episode 2, we talked about frame or hardtail. What are you doing? What do you want to do? Trying to spend all the money, a little bit of money? You're broke ass. You got to do it in parts. You got to affirm that shit. Okay. Episode 3, we talked about mounting that fender, aligning that fucking transmission and sprocket, doing the goddamn front end. Or was that episode 2?
Yeah, episode 2 is front ends and wheels.
Shit. Episode 3,
you were doing pretty good. Tank. Is fenders, handlebars, and
gas
bones.
Tank. Yeah, and gas tank. Right? Yeah, it had to have been.
Yeah.
Episode 4 was heavy paint talk, baby. An hour and a half of paint talk. How to rattle can.
Body work.
And body work. If you're not on the Patreon, you don't even know this. But we did a bonus episode, an hour and a half episode with Dan from No Luck Paintworks, where he got into what your painter expects, what you can expect, what prices are for certain paint jobs, the do's and don'ts, all kinds of good shit. And again, to join the Patreon, it's only $5 to get the free episode. $10 to get the free episode and giveaway every month. It's a great fucking deal. And this week, we are talking about final assembly. After you're done with that fucking rattle can paint job, or you get your tins back from the painter, we're going to talk about wiring. We're going to talk about polishing, because you know that's a big fucking step when you're putting that bitch together. And we're just talking about closing out that fucking build. Everything you need to know on finishing up that build after the most satisfying part, which is getting your shit back from paint.
Yeah. So where do we want to start?
So let's start with just got your shit back. Whether you painted it, it's now dry. Yeah. Or your painter just dropped it back off. Now, a few key lessons there are here, okay? If you painted the frame, you need to know that where your motor mounts are, you got to sand that back down to metal. If you leave the paint there, once you set that motor up there and that shit started moving around, it's going to fuck that paint up. Once that paint gets fucked up, now it's exposed to the elements. Now water can get in there. And guess what? That water is going to travel down the frame, fuck up all your paint. All your paint's going to be bubbling, falling off. And not just on your motor mounts. You need to put it anywhere where you're going to be bolting shit. So say for some reason you're building a swing arm chopper. Where you're bolting those struts back up, you got to fucking sand that down where that nut and bolt's going to be.
Yeah.
If you're putting your brake stay on, you got to fucking sand that down. Anywhere where you're going to put a bolt and apply pressure to that paint, you got to fucking sand it.
Yeah. And most importantly, for the motor mounting, that's how your engine works. It needs to be grounded.
Yeah.
So if you have a thick layer of fucking powder coat or whatever, and your engine's not going to be grounded, and that's how your engine needs to be grounded for the points or the fucking electronic ignition to work and shit.
Yeah, I'll tell you the best thing that I found for doing this is the die grinder. Those little buzz pads. Get one of those on there, not a super aggressive one, and just done. And again, like I said, anywhere where you're going to be bolting to the frame, if there's paint there, you got to get it off. And
I taped it off before I even painted it.
Right. Yeah, that's a good idea. Usually it's flat in those spots because you got to get a bolt there. So it's usually not going to be round, right? Yeah. And the same thing where you put bungs for your fucking gas tank, you got to fucking sand that off.
Yeah. And in fact, the other thing is the benefit of actually grinding it down is if you're using an old frame, that's not going to be perfectly flat anymore, because there's going to be chips in it. So it's probably best practice to grind it flat and level, because then when you put your motor in or put your train, like wherever it's bolting to, it'll be perfectly flat. So you don't even have to shim it,
Yep. The other thing too, I should have said this last week. Anywhere where you put bungs in the frame, do yourself a favor, grab some shit bolts, thread them into the bungs. And this is going to do two things. It's going to let the paint not get into your threads, because that is the last thing you want to fucking be dealing with. And two, it's going to cover up some of that fucking surface, so you're not going to have to sand as much. But this is a very important step. Make sure you sand anywhere you're about to bolt to.
Yeah. Or run a tap through, especially with powder coat, it's real thick.
Yeah.
So run a tap through anywhere that's threaded. That, my experience with powder coaters is they don't really, when I say my experience with powder coaters, I powder coat on threads too, like threaded areas. So just run a tap through and it's clean bean.
Yeah. Next thing I would say is I automatically, when I get my shit back from the painter, automatically I'm making it a roller, because I don't want to set that frame on the fucking floor, get it all fucked up. So I'm putting that thing back into a roller stat, putting the front end on, getting that front wheel spaced out, getting that rear wheel spaced out. And here's another huge fucking trick is once you have everything done before you rip it down for paint, take pictures of your spacers that you did. Because sometimes those spacers are different sizes on each side. So be like, oh, this spacer's here. This spacer's on this side. Now you know. When you put it back together, there's no trial and error. It's just one time. So get that thing back in the roller, get the front end on, the rear wheel back on and spaced out. Now a super important thing. Hold on, I'm gonna grab something real quick because I feel like I want to show these. Hold on.
Like when you're mounting your rear wheel too, if you do powder coat, it's significantly like thicker than regular paint. And you actually might have to redo some of your spacing depending on how thick that paint is, because you're down to the millimeter, and if you put a millimeter of paint on each side of that axle plate, it might change your spacer.
Yes, I didn't even think of that. That's true. For when you got the rear wheel on, front end on, now it's time to put the motor back in the bike. I cannot recommend these enough.
I did the same thing,
here.
Maybe.
This is just pipe insulator. You get this right at Lowe's. It's super cheap. Get the pre-cut shit. Don't be a fucking retard. Pre-cut shit has already got a slit in it. You just put this right over your frame. So now when you're putting that motor in, your frame is completely protected. You're not going to fuck up your paint. And listen, I know you're not going to fuck it up. You're strong enough to lift this motor. Guess what, bitch? No, you're not. It's brand new paint. You're going to fuck it up. It just fucking happens. It fucking happens.
Your hands all sweaty. It slips. I mean, shit happens.
It's so cheap. Yeah. It's like fucking $1 or some shit.
Well, dude, they come in like 6-foot lengths. You only need like one noodle, dude.
Yeah. It's so fucking cheap, and it's the best fucking protection you can get. You're not going to fuck up that paint you just spent all your time on or just paid a bunch of money for. Super important to grab those.
Yeah, just
once you get those, once you get those on the frame, now you can fucking pick that motor up, slide that bitch in, get those fucking motor mount bolts back in, shim it if you got to shim it. One thing to remember when you're putting the motor back in, if this is a shovel head, do not forget that little fucking protection plate that goes in first before the motor. What that does is make it so any rocks that come kicking up from your front tire aren't just smashing into your cases.
That goes in before the motor?
Yeah.
I did mine after.
Really?
The
belly plate?
I did mine after.
Really? Oh, actually, no, you have, right?
I think you have to do it after because I mounted my my regulator on there.
Well, I mean, I'm saying before it's fully bolted in because it uses those same bolts.
Yeah, it uses the same bolts. Yeah, you don't have to put the plate on and then the motor.
Right. Yeah.
Just before
I said that fucked up.
Yeah, just before you crank it on. Yeah.
Yeah, these go in with those same fucking motor mount bolts.
Yeah.
You want to run that if you got it. If you don't got it, fucking oh well, I guess. I don't have one for this shovel right now. I actually got to find one.
It's a good idea to those. It's actually really clean. Like I said, I put my regulator down there. You can't even fucking see it.
Right.
And it will. I mean, you don't want anything to crack that aluminum down there. Yeah. So it's just like can't see it. Might as well. They're pretty cheap. You can get them at swaps for nothing.
Yeah. And also, I highly recommend when you're putting the motor back in. Listen, I know we're all tough guys. We can all put a motor in ourselves. I highly recommend getting a buddy to come over and help you. Because especially if you're doing an Evo Sportster, you got to lay that frame on top of the fucking motor. You want two guys to help you do that. Same with a shovel, though, is sometimes you put that in and it's a little bit too far back and it's hitting the fucking seat post. Having a second guy being able to be on the other side of the bike, pulling it and shimmying it away from the frame as you push it in is huge. Get one of your homies over, tell them you're cooking burgers and some fucking beers or some shit, and get somebody to help you throw that motor in.
Cook them up some beers, some oven-warm beers.
Some nose beers, dude.
I got some fucking Corona. They're like resting on 350 right now.
Nose beers. Yeah, so get a buddy to come over and just help you throw the fucking motor in. Like I said, this is just precaution shit. This is to make it so you don't fuck your frame up before you even get to ride the goddamn thing.
Dude, when you fuck your paint up, it hurts. It physically
sucks.
hurts. You feel like you want to puke.
Yeah,
like when you put it in, you scrape it, and you're just like. Ugh.
I did it on my shovel, dude. I took a chip right out of the fucking edge of the motor mount plate. Sucked.
When you were putting the motor in?
Yeah, because I did it by myself, like a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
So just get a buddy to come over and help you. Get that thing all bolted in, put your shims in, put your fucking what do you call it? Belly plate on. And then get that thing torqued down. Then you can move on, put the transmission in. This one's a lot fucking easier. Chances are you're not gonna fuck anything up because it sits on its own plate. Most you're gonna do is probably fuck up the paint on the seat post. Try not to do that.
You have to put it in with the plate on it.
Yes.
Isn't that how it goes? Yeah.
Well,
that's just on a shovel head. You need to put it. You mount it to the plate, and then you put the plate and the transmission.
Oh yeah.
Well, don't try to put it. It won't fit if you put the plate.
Do it opposite.
No.
Yeah, you got to put the plate on the frame, and then put the trans on.
I thought you had to put it on. I thought that the studs won't fit unless you mount it to the plate first. I can't remember what I did now. There's a certain order to do it.
I don't know.
It's either plate first.
Remember, I just put my trans in.
Yeah.
I just put my trans in with the plate already on the frame.
With the engine in?
Yeah.
You had the engine in for okay. All right, so maybe that's it. Maybe I confuse.
Yeah, so get the trans in, get that aligned. Then you can throw your primary belt on. If you're going to run an open belt, which you probably are if you got a shovel head. If you got an Evo Sportster, this doesn't apply to you because that shit's already connected. Same with the trans. Get that transmission line back up. Get your primary belt on. Get your clutch all put on. And then since you already have the wheel space because you've already done this before, you should be good to go now. You can throw that chain on. Oh, fuck. Matter of fact, you probably should put the rear fender on before you put the transmission in.
True.
Don't forget to do that. Put the fucking rear fender on before you put the transmission in because you're going to want that room.
Yeah, and when you the other thing is you can get some tape that is like really light adhesion, like painter's tape. They sell it in like different, they have ones that are like real fine lines or what. Just get something to put on the fender so when you're moving it in and bolting into place, you're going to be trying to get those bolts in to the sissy bar and shit and mount it, and it's going to hit stuff.
Yeah.
And you got the fresh paint job. So just tape it off, but don't put like, Pawpaw's masking tape on there and you rip it off and there's just like takes a flame off with it or the fucking gold leaf. Just put something on there so if you just gently.
Here's the best thing to do too is because this is fresh paint, and tape will make it fucking rip off. A trick I was taught by Maddie, aka Fosmobile, is take painter's tape, stick it on your sweatshirt, and then peel it off. And that'll get like the little bit of fibers and shit off your shirt and make it so it's not sticky, but it's still sticky enough to stick to the paint.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. That's a hot tip. Because that's the thing is if there's too much adhesion, it'll fuck it up or leave a residue,
Yeah.
Depending on like how long it's been curing for and shit.
Yeah.
But that's a good tip, yeah. Because you just want it to just barely be sticking on there, just in case.
Yeah. So real quick, just to go backwards a little bit, you can throw the motor in, but I recommend getting the rear fender on, get your sissy bar on, and get your taillight on. That way you can run that wire down before you get the transmission and shit. That way it just gives you a little bit more room. Get that to where you need it. And then throw the transmission in. Now you have everything in the back of the bike done. Throw the transmission at that point.
The putting the sissy bar on is nerve-wracking as well because it's attaching to the fender.
Yeah.
And it's like an interference fit almost, you know what I mean? Like those bungs are going into that fender and it's just like there's nothing in between it to protect it. Right. That sissy bar bung is going to be touching that paint.
Yeah.
So if you're moving it, trying to get into place, just be careful because those bungs, especially if you have like those like I don't know the torpedo ones or whatever, or any kind of bung, has a hard edge on it. And yeah, I fucked my fender up, putting it in, attaching it to the sissy bar because it's like I said, it's a tight fit.
Yeah. And again, take your time with all of this. There's no fucking rush. I know you want to see the end product and see what this bitch looks like all put together. Take your fucking time. I promise you, take your time because you're gonna fuck it up if you don't.
Yeah, and if you get your paint, if you get it all back together and you want to throw it together, but you're like 12 beers deep, sleep on it, buddy. I know you're excited, you just got your shit, your boy dropped it off, but wait till Sunday morning, sober up a little bit.
Nap.
You don't want to be fucking shaken. You don't want to be sloppy about it.
Yeah, so you can throw the transmission back in at this point. After you get that lined up, the belt drive on, your clutch in, all that, you can do one or two things. You can now put your fucking chain on if you want to. That's kind of a fucking cunt if you haven't done a chain or you don't have a chain brake. I've never used a chain brake, honestly, ever in my life.
You use the clips? Like just the master clip?
Sometimes. I've had the riveted ones though.
My advice is to go and get, you can get a chain breaker and installer tool for mad cheap. Freight. Yeah, dude, they have them at Harbor Freight. I think it's called OTC. It's an American company. They sell them on Amazon. They're really decent quality, but they're pretty fucking cheap. And I use that for, I have a kit for like bearing installers. I have a kit for like for neck and bearings. For wheel bearings, I have one for and a chain breaker installer tool. And when you go up in quality on chain, which I highly recommend, because if you get the cheapest chain that you can get, you will be adjusting that chain every single week if you ride during the summertime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go up a level and get like a decent chain that actually has the pins riveted in, and with like either O-rings or X-rings for the oiling, and then get the tool. If you're riding bikes, you're going to be doing chains all the time. You know what I mean? So like get the tool. We're talking like $30 max on this tool.
Yeah.
And dude, I put through one on my Sportster. I got the cheap chain with the little master link, adjusted every 100 miles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like every single week, I'm adjusting chain.
I had the same
new
problem
chain. I have not adjusted
cheap chain.
Yeah, it's
I
once
bought
a season.
A more expensive chain that also still has the push clip, but it's like $130. And I haven't had an issue with that one. But when I used the $50 one that comes with the master link, I was adjusting that thing every 100 miles.
Oh yeah. So get a quality chain, dude. The one I have on so I got the same one on the shovel head as I do on the Sportster, and dude, don't ever have to fuck with it.
Yeah,
and
spend at least $100 on your chain.
At least. If it's a $50 chain, it's like
it's gonna be shit.
If you're in a pinch and you need to do it, and by the way, I ran the $50 chain 4 years. You know what I mean? And
I ran it for 5 years.
Yeah, and I got sick of adjusting it all the time. You get a good chain, dude. When you take it out of the packaging, you're like, dude, this thing is definitely beefier. It's not slinging fucking chain wax all over you either, by the way, because you don't have to constantly wax it because it has those O-rings or X-rings, and it keeps it on those pins better. So it's just a better experience. It's worth double the money. Now I've seen chains, dude, they're like $200+ that's pretty steep, but the chain is a component on a motorcycle that's important enough that you can splurge and get $100 chain and rivet that thing in. Now, when you rivet it in, this chain tool, it's very, very small amount of riveting. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't take much to mushroom that pin out. And if you overdo it, you're fucked. So you want to, like, when you actually get into it, and maybe I'll throw a video up. I have chains that I can do on the YouTube. I'll do like on our Choppin 101 shorts that we do. I'll do just chain breaking and chain installing, because it's pretty nerve-wracking, because if you overdo it, chain's fucked. You're at 150, $100 or whatever. And it's we're talking so small that like you can't really look at it with your eye, or maybe I can. I have bad eyesight, but like when I look at it, I'm like, that doesn't look like it's in there all the way, but it doesn't take much to mushroom that thing out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll run through that. Actually, I'm gonna do I just mentioned all those OTC tools. I'll do dude. If you don't have a wheel bearing install tool, you're fucking retarded, dude. That like banging out bearings and shit with a drift or a screwdriver or whatever, dude. You're fucking wasting your life. You have to just get the right that tool saved me so much time. Just
the right
like
tools make a difference for sure,
dude. And we're talking short money. If you're going to be doing your own shit, like bearings, you can't fuck those up. You know what I mean? Like that really hurts when you smash a bearing and you like fuck up the wheel or whatever. Like some of that stuff is like where it's interference fit, like like a chain, link or a bearing or something. It helps so much to have like a decent tool. If you're doing this like full time, you should have real nice tools to do this because you're working on customer bikes. But I'm just talking Amazon specials. They're not the cheapest ones on the market, but they do the job. So I'll put a link maybe for this company, because I have like 3 or 4 different sets of tools that I've used, and they were cheap and they work, and I've used them a lot, especially with vapor hunting. People will send me a wheel. I have to get those bearings out, and that's why I got it, because someone sent me a wheel to do, and I'm like, I'm sitting there on it with a customer's wheel with a fucking like screwdriver, like smashing it. And I'm like, I got to do this professionally, because if I fuck this up, it's not my own shit. You know what I mean? You send a gouge on a mating surface on like a wheel bearing, like you just fuck the whole wheel up. So, but it makes a job that takes like an hour of banging and smashing and doubting yourself into like, dude, it's like 5 minutes. You just like crank the fucking thing down.
Yeah.
It's satisfying. And then to install the new one, you're just like, so anyways, I forget where I got a little off topic there with the but chains, and we'll do some videos on those tools because they're super, super easy to use and they're super cheap.
Yeah. So once you have the whole drive put back together, you can throw that fucking oil bag in, start plumbing that back in. Make sure you're routing your fucking oil lines the right goddamn way. Like we said before, buy any climber fucking book, buy any factory fucking book, and they will show you which port on the oil pump is what, and then figure out on your oil bag which fucking port is what.
They have oiling diagrams just like they have wiring diagrams. So in those manuals, you have your diagram, your wiring diagram. They have an oiling diagram. They show you exactly where it goes and how.
And doing that wrong is a sure way to blow your fucking bike out.
Oh yeah, dude. It's blood. Oil is the blood of the motorcycle. And if it's not getting enough blood, then bad things can happen real quick too. By the way, these old machines get super fucking hot. They're air cooled. They need that oil big time.
Yes. And listen, here's another fucking word of advice. Buy a cheap dry erase board. You can get them at Walmart. Fucking cheap as hell. Just, this big. And make a fucking list, a checklist of putting everything back together. And you can use this episode to make the list. But make a fucking list, because now before you start the bike, you're like, that's done. I cannot tell you how easy it is. I've never done this, but I've almost done this. How easy it is to get the oil bag in, route the lines, start wiring the bike, wiring the ignition, blah, 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 putting the coil in, the battery in, this and that, and never put oil in the fucking bike.
Oh, yeah.
Make a fucking checklist. It just helps you see it. It's satisfying seeing every time you check something off, you know you're that much fucking closer. Do yourself the favor and make a fucking checklist. Because you're already going to be paranoid as fuck. You just ripped this bike down to nothing, cut it in half, went balls deep in the motor, maybe in the transmission. You put the front end together. You know what I mean? Like, you're already nervous enough. So you're going to forget shit. Make a checklist just to give yourself a little peace of mind.
It's especially important. Like once you get like super close to finishing it off, you're so excited that like you get like blindsided. You got tunnel vision, you know?
Yeah.
And I've heard of plenty of dudes, dude, start a bike up and ride around, no fucking oil, dude.
Yeah. So now that you got the oil lines routed, I mean, you can fill with oil now if you want. I usually don't until the end. I usually just do oil and gas at the same fucking time.
Yeah.
So get the oil lines done, the oil bag mounted up. Use Loctite on everything. This is a fucking chopper. Shit is gonna fall off. Use red Loctite on everything.
Just one little dot of red Loctite.
Yeah. Is what I've been all you doing. People that's like dropping bolts and buckets of Loctite, you're a fucking dumbass. You just need one droplet.
One drop of red or that's the blue stuff. Just you can coat the bolt in the blue stuff and still get it out.
One drop of red, you're fucking good to go. So get the oil lines done. Now you have the whole ass end of the bike. See how we're moving in a fucking sequence here? We're starting from the back and going forward. Now you can throw the gas tank on, depending on how you're wiring the bike. If you're gonna run shit down the backbone, don't throw the gas tank on yet. But you can throw the gas tank on if you're going internal wiring. Also, another thing too is before you do all this stuff, like put the oil bag and all that shit, you can wire the entire bike. So all your wires are just ready to be put where the fucking oil tank is usually. But I found that when you do that, now you're like fighting the wires. They're always in the fucking way of whatever you're trying to do. So I try to plan out the wiring where I can wire the bike as a full put together bike.
I feel the wiring is the last step, you know, like,
yeah, that's what I do.
You should have everything should be on the bike and all the holes drilled if you're doing internal wiring. And if you're doing like a loom or whatever, then it's all outside anyways. So that's kind of the last step.
Yeah. At this point, like I said before, you should already have the wires coming from your taillight to where your oil bag is. Because if you're running them under the fender, too fucking late at this point because you've already built the whole ass end of the bike. So that's why I mentioned that earlier in the show. So that should already be sitting down where your oil bag is. Next, like I said, depending on how you're wiring the bike, you can put the gas tank on. Make sure you use those leather washers or use rubber wash, whatever the fuck you want to do. Put some kind of dampening in there because even with leather washers, we talked about this on the early episode, after time goes on, that tank will start fucking rattling because those washers will squish down, they'll get hard, whatever. What do you think's going to happen if you don't run any washers? It's going to rattle right off the fucking bat. And you don't, that's the whole thing is when you're going rigid, shit is going to rattle now. You got to prevent that because when shit rattles, it's not just annoying, it also cracks and breaks. So that's the shit we're trying to fucking get away from here. So make sure you use leather washers.
Loctite's so important and washers are so important because there's so much more vibration. Especially, dude, if you got motherfuckers with hard tails and hard front girders and shit.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, there's no vibration dampening, and that engine's going to be rattling like a motherfucker. And you would be surprised. Dude, even with Loctite and shit, dude, stuff still falls off.
Yeah,
you know? It's amazing.
Great. So make sure that you use some kind of washer. Now you get the tank on, you're like, oh my God, this thing's so fucking sexy. And you just want to hurry up and now start this thing. Slow the fuck down. You need to slow the fuck down.
Okay? Hold up.
Now start wiring the bike. Now, like I said before, all those spots where you drilled holes so you can internal wire, get a little rubber grommet kit. You get them super fucking cheap at any parts store. And just go in there. And you should have done this before you sent it to paint, but just file around those fucking holes you just, there's no sharp edges. Pop that fucking rubber grommet in there and then start snaking your wire through. Now, what I did before I sent the shovel to paint, I drilled the inlet hole for my headlight in the outlet hole. And then I took a piece of mechanic wire and thread that through and then just left that in when I sent it to paint. So then when I got it back, I just taped my wires from my headlight to this side and I just pulled it right through the frame. And now my headlight's completely wired. The ground, you can just put right on the frame, right up on the neck, wherever the fuck you want to do it. Most of these things already have some kind of little fucking drill hole for like a machine screw on the neck anyways. Just use that as your ground for your headlight. And then you're just running that one wire back. So another thing I do is I don't ever wire a high beam, low beam. I wire just a high beam. I run high beams all the fucking time. If you're building the chopper, chances are you're not running these brand new high tech fucking lights that are so bright that people are going to be flipping their headlights at you the whole fucking time. So I just run a high beam, keep it one wire going straight back. It makes it easier to snake. It's less problems, less wires to fucking break.
Is your high beam always on?
Always on.
Okay. On the shovel head, I actually, sometime I was figuring like maybe I didn't want to have a light on. So I did. If you're going to have, so on my Sportster, it's always on. You start the bike up, it's always on. On the shovel head, I was like, I didn't know like what the draw would be or whatever. Like maybe I want to have the option.
No, that's a huge difference is on a shovel head. I put all of my lights on one toggle switch.
Yep.
So my tail light and my headlight were on a toggle right next to the seat. That way, when I'm kicking the bike over, for some reason it doesn't want to kick over, I can just shut the fucking headlights off.
If you have a starter, if you have an electric starter on it, it's a different story. So like Sportster, electric start, high beam only, just wired in. On the shovel head, I did put a toggle switch, and it's right next to, I actually put a kill switch for the coils there too, like on the side, just in case the fucking thing wanted to run off on me. But at that point, I just threw in high-low because it's the same price if you're going to have on-off, high-low, a 3-position switch anyways. So
right. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. On the shovel, I did do that. I put a little toggle switch right next to the seat pan. That way I could shut those off when I was kicking the bike over, just in case. Because you never know. Your carb floods out and you got to kick it 100 times. Good luck doing that with all your lights on, because that battery's going to be fucking dead.
Yeah, you want all that energy going.
That's a huge thing. Wiring a little toggle switch. It's super fucking easy to wire toggle switch. And just put your lights on that. Now, I heard this from an oat head. I'm not going to say the fucking name. But people used to do this back in the day as well for 2 reasons. 1, when you're kicking the bike over, you can shut the lights off. 2, if you're running from the cops, you can shut your lights off.
I was going to mention that. Yeah. Like you can.
So it's a win-win.
Yeah. Rolling up on somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So now you snake that wire down through. And like I said, it's going to be the same thing. You're snaking that wire down to usually where the oil pan is somewhere. That's where everybody tucks their wiring away. You can wire in that little toggle switch right there. So now you have your headlight, your tail light. Everything is all at the oil bag. Now, pending what motor you have, obviously, we'll go with the shovel head. It's easier. That's pretty much it for fucking hiding your wiring. Because now the only thing you have is what's coming from the coil down to the battery and what's coming from your ignition to the coil. And that's easy to hide because you can run that right up the fucking seat post and then just boom, you're right at the fucking coil, depending on where you mount your coil.
I'm going to make I actually already made a video about that. Like, so you mentioned mechanic wire. Definitely you're not feeding wire through the frame, right? You're using this wire, metal wire. You snake that through first. You attach your wires to that, like you just twist it on, and you can pull it through. Yeah. So I'm going to throw up a video about that too. But on a shovel head, super easy, like because your headlight, like
you can wire a shovel in 20 minutes,
dude. It already has holes unless you already filled them in. But that's the only wire coming from the front is down that tube, and then you drill a little hole under your seat where your battery is going to be. And I like on the Sportster, I have pop circuits, but on the shovel head, I have a fuse block that goes right on top of the battery, and it has little lights. And I'll throw this up on YouTube too when we're doing the wiring tutorial. But I have a little fuse block for you're gonna want one for your headlight, you're gonna want one for your tail light, and you're gonna want one for your charging system, right? And you're also gonna want one for the battery out. right? So just in case anything, you don't want to fry anything, you should probably do, you can do breakers, or I like fuses. I went with fuses because breakers are actually harder to find, but fuses are everywhere. They're super
I used
cheap.
the breakers from the Sportster when I did it. I just kept them when I tore the bike down.
You use the existing breaker,
yeah.
And I think off the battery I used a breaker just because the way that I could mount it was easy. But any auxiliary lighting or anything else that you have on there, fuses you can literally get at a gas station. Like that's the thing is you can get a breaker at a hardware store, but usually they don't have breakers at a gas station. You can go to a 7 if you're broken down, you can get a fuse anywhere. So yeah, and they're cheap and they're very common. So you get just the blade fuses. They come in like 2 different sizes or whatever. But they're super cheap. You can keep them in your bag. They take up no room. So yeah, I went with a fuse system, and dude, I got this thing on Amazon. It was like maybe $4, and it has little LED lights. So if one burns out, it'll just illuminate the light. You don't even have to like look at it.
Yeah.
And it mounts like just perfectly right on top there. But it's helpful to have all your wiring in one place, because if you're running it from the back, from the front, your key, your battery, all that shit, it should be right under your seat, and you should be able to just work on the electrical system just all at once. Like, is it a fuse? Is there a loose connection? All that shit. So serviceability, definitely with wiring, is huge.
Yeah, I agree. And then this goes back to what we talked about when we talked a little bit about the electrical shit. It's just make sure you're using the right connections. Don't cheap out on the connections, because even buying good connectors is not expensive. It's expensive for connectors, but it's not expensive in like real life. You know what I mean? So don't cheap out with the connectors. Make sure you're using the shrink wrap. Make sure you're using good fucking connectors. Like Rhino said, if you have the ability to solder them, because that's fail safe. Like it can't fuck up from there.
So check out the YouTube, because I have 2 videos on soldering. One is just like basic soldering. I go over those little tubes too, with the little that you can do with the heat gun. But I also go over soldering terminals, like ring terminals or butt terminals or whatever. Soldering, and the more I thought about it, the more you have to solder all this stuff together. Like, you do not want to fuck with your electric. You want to get the electric done, know that these connections are bulletproof, and you might have an electrical problem, but like on the Sportster, I used crimps, and I was going down the road, and dude, I had my tail light fucking yank out of these like connectors that I had, like, like fucking electrical tape together. I lost my tail light and my bike shut off because that circuit went back. So I was in the middle of the road trying to find my fucking tail light so I could complete that circuit, all because I had these shitty connectors on it. So soldering is so stupid simple. Go check out the YouTube Choppin 101. Learn how to solder. It's so easy. Once you get, here's the thing. There's only one tip that you need to know is, if you've ever tried soldering and it didn't work for you, and you're like burning the plastic and you're like, why the fuck isn't it getting hot enough for the solder? You need to tin your iron. So you just take the solder, you just touch it to it. It's melted on there. You touch the wire, and now that wire is instantly hot. So go watch those videos and you'll see. And then you will never go back. You will never go back to crimping anything. And then that you have a nice clean connection. It's not going to get fucked up. It has you're going to use the fucking shrink wrap, and it's actually really fun. Like, once you start wiring stuff and you're doing it the right way, I like wiring. I don't even see it as a chore,
Yeah. Yep. So just make sure, this is another thing, take your time with it. I know when I started building my own bikes, wiring, I was like, oh my God, dude, I cannot do it.
Yeah.
The older the bike, the easier it is. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm not by any means a wire guy. Like, I'm not Bad Fish Custom. That dude is like wiring airplanes and shit. He loves wiring. I fucking suck at it. I hate it. I don't. Most of the time, I don't understand it. Blah blah blah. I can wire a shovel in fucking like 25 minutes. It's so easy.
It's weird how easy a kick only shovel head is to wire. There's really not that much.
It's crazy. So anyways, you'll get all your wires, all your fuses, everything. Figure out where you're gonna put them. You want them in a spot where they're not getting fucking soaked all the time, or where they're not gonna be like dangling and rubbing against metal and all that shit. Like I said, the rubber grommets are your fucking friend. Find something where you can tuck them away. Usually, you're gonna do it near the oil bag. With the Sportster, we built a little box to put everything in. It has like a fucking hinge door and everything.
Oh no shit!
So I can just pull off on the side of the road, take one bolt out, and drop the hinge door, and I can pull all my wiring out, all my fuses, everything, and just see everything.
Yeah, and in fact, like wiring too, like when you have it all in one spot on the one side, you just get to sit that you just kneel down and you're just focused on the wiring, and you can check all the connections and shit, and you're like, all right, so this. If you did it yourself, you also know where those wires go. Like when you look at a wiring loom on a new bike or whatever, you pull it out, you're like, where the fuck does this go? They got special connectors and stuff. But when you wire yourself, you're trying to get it as simple as possible. And when you do it yourself, you know that the wire that goes into that fuse goes to the headlight. This one goes to that one. So it's so much easier to troubleshoot that way. And I got to say too, like I think a few years ago, I had an electrical problem leaving Deadbeat. We were at Fiddlehead and it was bumpy as fuck, and we were leaving and we're on that shitty ass dirt road, and my bike died, and we were troubleshooting electrical issues, and no luck was there. Fish Tank was there. A bunch of dudes stopped to help me out, and we could not fucking figure it out because there could be so many things wrong, right?
So many.
And I thought the battery, we were trying to jump the battery. We thought it was the regulator. Dan actually cut the regulator off his fucking Gypsy Witch Sportster build that he just finished for that weekend and wired it onto my bike. I went down the road, shit cut out, died again. Charging system wasn't working, but I brought it home. And I sat in front of this bike and I was like, I got to fucking figure this out. I mean, that's like end of August. I'm like, dude, we still got months to ride. I got to figure this out. And you just go meticulously through the loom and you just check every little thing. You break out your fucking multimeter and you go on YouTube and you're like, how do you check the charging system? How do you check this and that? Really simple processes to get to check to see if a battery's good or if a regulator's good or if, but what it turned out to be? A fucking breaker. I was riding the breaker's made of plastic and it cracked. So when I finally went through and I was checking each component of the electrical system, I saw this breaker and I was like, that's cracked. I replaced the breaker, $4, and I'm back in business. But before that, I bought a brand new regulator. I paid Dan for his regulator they gave me. Like it can get really expensive once you start jumping to conclusions and like you think it's a catastrophe, but it's like you just have to break it down to the different systems. You know what I mean? Like you're like, all right, so my bike's not firing. Why is it not starting up? It could be anything. It could be the starter. It could be this or that. But test it. Like go through that process of testing each
Always
component.
Suck, bang, blow first.
Yeah.
Always.
Hey, I gotta pause it for a second. My wife's texting me.
Okay. So once you figure all this shit out, like we said, this is not a hard part. People tend to overthink it. You got all the wires now in or around your fucking oil bag, depending what kind of oil bag you're running. If not, build a box, like I said. Figure out what you're doing for your key switch. I really like the 3. What's it called? You know what I mean?
Free position.
Yeah, free position. For a kicker, not really fucking needed. For a Sportster, it's great because you just take the key, fucking start the bike. On my last shovel, I just ran another toggle switch. And this one I hid in the bike. That way, there's no key. I can never forget a key. There's not just like an open fucking like key ignition, so you can't just take the wires off and fucking tap them together and start the bike. You know what I mean?
That's really easy to do. It's
so
like
fun. It's
like
so
I had
easy.
to do that. Yeah, Fat Man showed me how to do it because I had my bike at his shop and he was like, "You forgot the key, didn't you?" And then it's just, dude, alligator clips. Actually, I keep it in my tool roll. These alligator clips just to go on because the back of the ignition, the key, it's always exposed, so you can just jump it. You just alligator
and that's
clip one side to the other.
That's why I ran a toggle switch and I tucked it up like under the frame where you could not see it. If you didn't know where it was, I can't say how many people are like, how the fuck are you turning the ignition on in this fucking thing?
Yeah.
And so it was like an anti-theft type deal. I mean, you can just roll the fucking bike away if you really want it. But as far as like trying to like start it and take off, good luck. So like on the kick only bike, I like to just wire another toggle switch. You get super small toggle switches, so they're easy to fucking hide. But that's how I do it. You can wire in the switch if you want to. So you can wire that up. You need to wire your ignition to your coil, and then your coil down to the battery or coil to the whatever the fuck you're doing. And that's pretty much it for wiring. It's pretty fucking easy on a chopper.
Yeah. All you gotta do is there's so many wiring diagrams out there. Just take the time to find one for your bike for the components that you want, because you'll find like, oh, a shovel head wiring diagram. Oh, it has a horn. Oh, it has this and that, like just find one that matches exactly what you have. And it's super simple. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then even redraw it. Like I redrew mine so it made sense in my mind. But actually, if you want to get really slick with it, I'm going to shout out B Peak. He's been there's some numbers there too, but if you the letter B Peak, he does an awesome wiring video on YouTube. He's really good at it. Like he has like overlays, like he'll have like a picture of the bike and then he has like an overlay that has just the wiring on it so you can see exactly what tube it's being routed down. So if you want to get like real fancy with it, I found that video really helpful because it was like a little bit above my head, but there was some really good stuff in there. But that's like the number one thing for new bike builders or dudes that are like, maybe you're mechanically good, but like the wiring intimidates a lot of people. And I remember when I first started building bikes, I was like, I can build a bike, but someone else has to wire it. And once you do it, you're like, ooh, that wasn't bad at all. It's just like something's going to click eventually. And for me, it was really like, I always got held up. Like I always got overwhelmed looking at a wiring diagram, even like the simple ones, because I'm so stupid. But once you get to a point where you're just like point A to point B, point A to point B, like, and then you just follow that line. It's really easy. There's nothing easier to dude. The kick only shovel head. I have like 4 wires. And they don't run very far, like there's not a whole lot to it. So I definitely say like if you get into it, get a decent, just as simple as it can get, And here's the other thing is you can't really fuck it up that bad. You wire some shit, dude. And if it's not wired right, it won't work. So try it out. And then again,
on the flip side, using shit components like shit clips and shit connectors and shit wire,
that's going to confuse the shit out of you.
That's one way how people light their bikes on fire.
Oh, true. Yeah, you could actually light your bike on fire.
So it's do it the right fucking way. Spend the money on the wire. It's not expensive.
This video of some dude in like Indonesia or whatever, and he had his bike all wired up, and he turns the key on, and it immediately starts smoking.
Yeah,
like all the wires started smoking immediately.
Yeah,
I was like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah, so just don't fuck around. Spend the money on the right fucking shit. Wire the bike the right way. Use the right gauge wire. Solder if you can.
Yeah, what gauge wire did you use on the shovel? For most of it.
I can't even fucking remember. I want to. I don't remember.
I think I did. I think I ended up doing. I want to say 16 gauge for pretty much everything except for the electrical system.
I was gonna say I thought
the charging 14. System. Yeah, maybe I did 14. I did one of either 16 or 14.
I did 14. I can't remember. When I built the stepchild, I just bought like a spool of wire, and I've just been using that on everything now.
The important thing about wire is anything that's carrying like a big load, like a battery or a charging element, you want to use like 12 gauge, like the thicker stuff. But and if you're doing a Sportster, you actually have to get,
I want to say I use 14, but I could be wrong.
14 sounds about right for like most everything, like any of the components, but
that's what it is. Yeah. So
the gauge, it's either like it's kind of negligible almost, like because it's like, where are you gonna go? Like if you have wire, just use pretty much whatever you need. I would just say anything like batteries have a bigger load, alternators, things like that.
I would say, I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not like an electric fucking guru, but I feel like 14. I think most people do 16, but 14 is like, you're good, bud. You know what I mean? I wouldn't like try to wire your bike with speaker wire. Or some shit like that.
Yeah.
But, and again, if you're like, fuck, man, I need to know because I'm about to wire the bike, hit me up and I'll find out and I'll let you know.
Yeah.
But I want to say it was 14 gauge that I used.
Yeah. And on a Sportster, you're going to need thicker gauge for starters and batteries and things like that. A lot of people just reuse. I think I reused like the 6 gauge or whatever, because there's a lot more amperage going through there. But for kick only bike, you do not need. I think I used 12.
Dude, I remember there was this little surge back in probably like 6 or 7 years ago, and people started using the micro wire, like the shit you use inside of like a computer.
Oh, dude, I think I've seen that.
Do you remember hearing about this?
I think Jesse James,
who did it. I was gonna say I think Jesse James did it or something.
Yeah.
But I remember everybody started talking about it.
Yeah, I gotta look back. I remember watching that video that when he was talking about that.
Yeah. So I don't know what goes into that to be able to use a wire that fucking small. But I would say 14 gauge is probably your best bet. That's gonna make it safe for sure. Safe. So get the bike all wired up. Now's the time when you can get that fucking carburetor on. Make sure your petcock is on nice and fucking tight. Get the fuel line on. Put oil in it. Put fuel in it. And so also, before I put fuel in it, I always turn the key on. And just make sure everything's good. Taillight's working. Headlight's working. I have some power to the coil. You know what I mean? Like I do all that to make sure before I put any fucking gasoline in this thing. I want to make sure that it's not going to light on fire.
You pretty much you do that shit like as you're installing it. Like you wire your tail light, turn the key on, make sure it works. Hit the brake, make sure that works. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like because you have the brake switch in there. Same thing with the headlights. Like wire the headlights in, turn it on, make sure that works. You don't have to do the whole bike and make sure everything works. Like do it component by component.
Right. Yeah, so then Put fuel in it, put oil in it, and you can start that motherfucker. A point that I want to get on, I don't want to skip, but I just want to get like the whole thing of like putting the bike together, wiring the bike, blah blah blah. Just because not a lot of people, some people are not going to be polishing anything. But for the guys that do need to polish, it's a lot. I don't want to say easier, but it's a lot more obtainable than you think. You can set yourself up with a polishing setup fairly cheap. I've never sent my shit out to get polished. And not saying like I do like this fucking show polish job, but I can make ugly metal look pretty fucking nice right in my garage for very little money.
Harbor Freight money.
Yeah. 100%. I've done it to the point where I didn't have a God, what the fuck is that thing called? The benchtop
like a buffer?
Yeah, like a benchtop buffer, a benchtop.
You can do it all by hand if you want.
Like that. Now the benchtop buffer that Harbor Freight has, super fucking nice. It has the extended arms on it, so you can like use bigger shit on there. But I'll say this: I've gotten away with. I already had a benchtop grinder, so I just went and got the fucking the flat to put on, like the flat fucking disc, or cloth disc, whatever the fuck you call it, right on my fucking benchtop grinder that I already had.
Same.
And it works fucking great.
The orange one, right? The orange Harbor Freight one, right?
I had the big blue one, the huge.
Oh, you have the big blue one, like half horse or quarter horse or something.
Yeah, it's huge, dude.
Oh no shit.
And that worked fucking great. That polished like a motherfucker. But the one that's made for polishing has the extended arms on it, which makes it so it's brings it out away from the motor, so you have more room to like angle parts and all that shit. Super nice. But like I said, I needed a benchtop grinder, so I bought a brand new one from Harbor Freight, the big one, and then I just used that for all my polishing. Now, before I had a benchtop grinder, I would just polish by hand, and I would just wet sand by hand. I'd start it depending on how fucked up the metal was. You could start at 80 grit, or if the metal's not bad, start at fucking 200. And then I would wet sand all the way to 1800.
Yeah, and with polishing, they call it polishing, but really, polishing is sanding. You sand
so much
more than you polish. Polish is like 1% of the polishing process. If you have a piece of metal,
unless you have stainless,
but even then, like the whole thing about polishing is right. So you have a piece of metal, and it's not even, right? There's grooves in it. You know, it's dull. It's dull because it doesn't have grooves. If something has no grooves in it, no dips, right? So let's say this is like if you took a microscope and looked down at a piece of metal, it's going to be all jagged like this. Light hits and it goes into these little valleys. So you want to knock those valleys down. The more that you knock those valleys down, the more light's going to reflect off of it. So when you polish something, it's almost all sanding. And the purpose of that is to knock those valleys down for a smoother surface so light can reflect off of it. So you start at something, you know, depending on what the material is, like when I did my wheel, it's cast aluminum. They have really deep ridges in it. I have to knock that down. So I have to start pretty aggressively. And then you incrementally move up. And you move up to, you know, you start at 220, you know, depending on the material, you know, like 300, 400, 600, you incrementally move up. And as you're doing that, by the time you get to 2000 or 3000, it's already polished. You can already see that it's reflecting your image in it. And the very last thing that you do is you use a buffing compound, which is essentially just sanding it. I mean, the compound is, you know, depending on what you're using, there's different grits. You can actually just use compound to polish too. Like they have 60 grit compound. You know what I mean? So if you have like a decent setup, but like I just use the Harbor Freight thing. You sand the shit out of it. Air tools really help if you're doing like big things, to knock it down quickly. Because if you're sitting there by hand, dude, and you're wet, and by the way, wet sand, do not dry sand. You will die. I've done it, and it's like aluminum dust or metal dust.
Yeah, you get
really fine particles. It gets all over you. You look like you fucking work in a coal mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then that buffing compound is the last step, and it's just like you can work your way up there too. And even like polishing, like the very, very last step, it's just such a really fine grit, and you're buffing it out, and then that's when you can like, and for me, like as far as buffing compounds go, I just use white on everything. And if you want to get like super fancy, like you can use the blues and a different thing, dude, I just get a stick of the white, and once I'm done sanding it all, I just give it some white, and that's shiny enough for me, dude. Looks pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
Mild steel, stainless steel.
Stick?
They come in just like little blocks,
Oh shit, I don't use that.
What do you have for buffing compound?
Oh, let me grab, because I want to show them another piece too that I got. Hold on.
Yeah, so you can go to Harbor Freight, and they have a polishing kit, and it has the black, the rouge, the white, and they're just like compound little bars that once your wheel starts going, you just pop it in there, and it gets the the compound on the wheel.
Yep.
What do you have?
So here's one thing that I bought too that has come in clutch. I found this at Napa, and it's just this polishing pad. And the good thing about this is it connects to your fucking drill. So you just put this right in your fucking drill, and you can use this anywhere. You don't have to be at the bench. This is great for like your exhaust if you're polishing your exhaust after the bike's already done. So I love this this is probably my like go-to on like any kind of finish polish. As far as the actual polish, I use this shit called White Diamond. And this shit is by far the best finish polish I've ever used ever. It's fucking phenomenal. Yeah, this stuff removes oxidization, discoloration from aluminum, brass, stainless, and returns the surface to a brilliant shine. And it also has a long-lasting sealer in it too. But it's like it's literally like water.
I'm gonna grab my. This is like the compounds I get. They're just like they come in little sticks. They have like, green for brass, copper. They have silver polish. They have aluminum polish. They come in bricks like this. This is like the Harbor Freight one. You get a polishing kit there. Comes with all the different rouges and fucking whatever.
You like a clay bar?
Yeah. And then when the wheel starts spinning on your buffer, you just lean into that shit. It gets on there, and then you just go.
Oh, okay. Well, will we just pause the whole time you were downstairs?
Yeah.
Oh, motherfucker. I was just talking the whole time.
Oh.
So let me recap that real quick. Since you guys didn't see it because it was fucking paused. So the White Diamond is what I use on my final polish. When I'm ready, I'm like, okay, polish one more time. This is going on the bike. This is what I use. It fucking lasts forever. I don't know. When I read all this shit, that was in the episode still, right? Like what it does.
What does it do?
So it removes oxidization, discoloration from aluminum, brass, stainless steel, returns the surface back to the original shine, or if you're polishing it, turns it back to the best fucking shine, and has a long-lasting sealant in it. So I use this, like I said, when you polish with this, it fucking lasts forever. It lasts so fucking long, you don't have to touch it again. And before I used to just use Mother's Polish because you can buy it anywhere. And it works good, but you burn through it really fucking fast. And so that's almost like like a lotion texture. This stuff here, you can see it in the bottle, is just like, it's literally like liquid. It's super fucking thin, so it goes a long fucking way. So like I said, on my final polish, I'll use this. But then I also keep like a little container of mother's polish. And if I'm getting ready to go to a show and I'm like, oh, the polish is a little fucked up, I'm not going to use this because, like I said, it's liquid. It fucking gets everywhere. I'll just take mother's polish on a rag and I'll just fucking buff it real quick with my hand and a rag. And that works great.
Yeah. And actually, we're talking a lot about metal, but you buff your paint job too. I mean, the final stage of your clear coat is, if you want it to really shine and look like glass, you're putting a compound down, you're buffing it out.
Yeah.
So it's and again, like when you're putting compounds down, it's just sanding. You're still just sanding. It's just like ultra fine. That's the key. It's like there's no magic. It's not supernatural. You're just going even finer than the sandpaper can physically get, is like a liquid form. Where
that's
it's
why
like
I've always liked white. That's why I've always liked wet sanding too. So I think the wet sanding keeps it as like a nice, even fucking grit. You know what I mean? But if you're going in there dry, you're getting all like the metal flake and everything in there as well as you're fucking sanding it.
Yeah, true.
And like you said, it makes you look like you're not a coal miner if you wet sand.
Yeah. Yeah, buff it. When you buff on a buffing wheel, though, and you're using these compounds, you look like a coal miner. Like, because the wheel is spinning and it's spitting that shit up. So if you ever buffed on a wheel, like after your part's done, there's going to be residue on it. Like you're going to see parts of black. And I found like the best thing for that is brake cleaner.
Dude, you know what I do is I run on my benchtop grinder. I run my buffing pad on one side and then a clean pad on the other side. And I'll buff and buff and buff and buff. And then the other side, I'll go to the clean side and then I'll take all the black shit off. And then I just wipe it with like a fucking...
That's a good idea.
With a cloth at the end.
Yeah, and again, when you're using buffing compounds and stuff, you can't use the same wheel. So like if you use blue and then you switch over to white, those two compounds, they don't mix. And that wheel will get hard and it will gouge it'll gouge the metal and shit. Like I've done it before where I'm like, just load it up with some black and then I go over to the white or the blue or the green. And then the wheel looks like, dude, it just clumps up, it gets super hot, it melts, and it turns, I don't even know what the fuck it's doing, but it's definitely does not work. You have to use a fresh wheel for each type of compound that you're using. Yeah, and when you're buffing paint, go fucking gentle, dude, because I've burnt through
the
paint job, dude. And that hurts your heart like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
Like I'll never forget when that happened to me. Like it's just seared it's like trauma seared into my memory. It's just like you're on the final step of the clear coat and then you burn through it and you get a bunch of paint in there and you're just like, you just fucked your paint job. You have to start all over, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid. If you want to polish some shit, do it. It's super easy. It's fairly cheap to get into. I mean, it's not super easy. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not super easy.
It's all elbow grease. All elbow grease.
It's time consuming. But it's very fucking doable from your house. It's ridiculous how much that'll bring those just regular metal parts to another level. And like I said, I do my fucking fender mounts, I polish those. My seat mounts, I polish those. My sissy bar mounts, I polish those. And good chance no one's ever gonna see that. But for that one guy, and you've seen him, that's at the bike shows, and he's like down on his knees looking under the frame and like really getting into it, that guy's gonna see it. I'm gonna see it.
Dude, you know what though? It makes it easier to work on your shit. Like I polish up bolts and stuff. Like if I'm reusing anything, like I polish them because then it gives it a layer of protection that it lost. And like sometimes I'll just run it through a wire wheel and then buff it, and makes it look good. You didn't have to go to the hardware store to get that bolt, and you have to do some buffing, you know what I mean? And I would say that like the Harbor Freight, like what I did was part of it's a wire wheel and part of it's a buffing wheel. So if you have some super easy, you have a shitty fucking rusted bolt, you don't want to go spend. When you buy bolts, buy the bolt at the hardware store. They're fucking expensive. So let's just say like you have a motor mount bolt that you want to reuse, but it's all crispy. Run it through the wire wheel really quickly. Just hit it with some buffing compound on the same thing. Takes 2 seconds, and it's protected and it looks shiny again. So I'm a proponent of reusing your old shit.
Oh, same.
But if you do have to buy hardware, don't go to Ace, don't go to Aubuchon, don't go to your local mom and pop. Go to Tractor Supply. They do it by the pound. It's the cheapest I've ever.
Really?
Dude, I go to Tractor Supply.
I've never even thought about going to Tractor Supply to buy hardware.
Dude, I fill up bags, dude, like this. Like I'll just get 1/4 inch, 5/16, 3/8
price.
Dude, and they do it by the pound. You don't have to separate it and put it on a little bag. They just do it by weight. So throw in the lock washers, throw in the washers, throw in the nuts, throw everything into one bag. You'll get like a 7-pound bag. Hands down cheapest hardware I've ever had. They have grade 8 bolts. They have grade 5 bolts. They have stainless steel. They got all sorts of shit. And it is so fucking cheap. It's way cheaper than buying it individually, writing on the bag how many, and how much did it cost. And it's good to have a stock of that shit when you're building. So like when I was building a shovel head, I just go down to Tractor Supply. I get a huge fucking bag of bolts, all the different ones that I need. And then when I get back to my house, I just sort them. So if I ever need, do you need a 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, like you have it all there and just stock up on fucking the bolts that you want to use, Super helpful, super cheap too.
Yeah, that's a good hack. I never knew that.
Yeah, dude, it's the best. You can even, and if you're buying a humongous bag of bolts, go ahead and throw some of that specialty shit in there too. They don't fucking know. They're not sorting it out. They take the bag, they put it on the scale. They don't know that there's an ounce of stainless steel in there. You know what I mean? Like if you need like an acorn nut, they have all that shit there too.
No shit.
Yeah, buddy.
That's a good fucking hack, dude. I never knew that.
Oh, yeah. That's why I have a stock of shit. Dude, I have like a whole wall, just all bolts of every kind. Because it's a big sack, dude. It's like $11. And you have like 100 bolts, nuts, all that shit. Instead of stealing from the hardware store. You're just like, and then it goes in the pocket.
Yeah.
But you want bulk.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a fucking hot tip. I think that's pretty much it. I think we've covered everything.
Yeah, dude. I mean, if you've listened to this and your bike's not ready to go down the road, then just hang it up, pal.
Yeah, you're fucking up. You're fucking up. Before we end this though, let's take a second to thank some of those motherfucking people that make the show possible. Up first, we've got Dan at No Luck Paintworks cooking up some of the dopest motherfucking paint jobs on the East Coast. Dan specializes in that old school swagger fucking chopper shit, like that that good shit, that chopper swag. Dan's got it. He can make your chopper look so good. Oh, you got a dyno? He can do that too. He can do all the panels your fucking heart desires. He can do candy for those cholo builds. Hit him up. No Luck Paintworks on Instagram and let Dan get your fucking bike looking brand new. Up next, we got Stay Strong Co., the creator of the hot sauce that both motherfucking both hosts of this show love to put on everything that we put in our mouths. That's right. We put it on everything. The most delicious fucking hot sauce. I'm telling you right now, if you have not tried the shit hot sauce, you're fucking up. Your mother is ashamed of you. Go over to Stay Strong Co. Order some motherfucking the shit hot sauce. Tell him that the boys from the Low Life Chopper podcast sent you. Oh, and just in case you're wondering, if you're a long time fucking listener, we have talked many of times about doing a Low Life signature Stay Strong Co. hot sauce. John said, let's make it happen. He wants to make it happen. We're going to jump on a phone call. We're going to come up with that fucking beautiful blend of spices and fucking vegetables out of his garden. And we're going to get you guys, we're going to get you right. All right. So get over to Stay Strong Co. Tell them the boys from Low Life Chopper podcast sent you. Next, we got Deadbeat Customs. Steve, a long supporter of this show. He's been with us through everything, through the ups and downs, to the technology failures, to getting canceled, to Deadbeat getting canceled fucking a week before Deadbeat and still pulling off Deadbeat. All right, Steve is an amazing fucking human, runs a legitimate fucking solid ass business. He's got something for everybody. Whether you're a chopper guy and you need a bearing support, guess what? He's got them. You need a brand new fucking first manufacturing fucking vest, he's got them. You need fucking helmets, gloves, luggage shit, Dynabro shit. He's got everything you need at Deadbeat Customs.
Best prices on lights too, headlights.
Best prices.
Best prices.
He's got everything you need at deadbeatcustoms.com. Use code LOWLIFE at checkout to save some motherfucking money. And check him out on YouTube too. He's always doing the Garage Builder Spotlight series, which is super fucking cool.
Gotta check out the blog. We're on the blog every week.
I always fucking forget about blog. Check out that motherfucking blog as well. That's another spot where he supports everything we fucking do. So help us return the favor. Get over to deadbeatcustoms.com and fucking subscribe to everything. Instagram, YouTube, the blog, whatever the fuck you want to do. Next, we got Lowbrow Customs. Everything you need for the road ahead. This is one of the only websites where you can build an entire fucking chopper on one website. They got everything from frames, engines, headlights, taillights, gas tanks, fenders, handlebars, everything you fucking need, carburetors, anything you need for a chopper. It's on lowbrowcustoms.com. Tyler and his team support everything chopper. Every grassroots event you've been to, it's sponsored by Lowbrow Customs. So a way you can help us return the favor is shop at lowbrowcustoms.com and let them know the boys from Low Light Chopper podcast sent you. Next, we got Steel City Blacksmithing. Josh, the motherfucking homie from PA, representing for all those fucking blacksmiths. Listen, there's not many people that can fucking withstand that kind of heat, all right? As a hobby, are you fucking kidding me, bro? Old son's a beast. He's doing the blacksmithing. He's making knives. He's twisting fucking steel. He's running CNC lathes. This kid's come a long way. When I met him, he was slinging Ironhead parts. All right. There is nobody more dedicated than this motherfucker. He loves this shit. He breathes this shit. So go support the fucking homie at steelcityblacksmithing.com, Steel City Blacksmithing on Instagram. Next, we got Rhino Resto.
Oh, I didn't make a tag for myself, but I am inconveniently located in Henniker, New Hampshire. You don't know where that is? I don't blame you for not knowing. It's the only one on Earth. It's the only one on Earth. So it saves me a lot of time. I don't have to put Henniker NH, you know. But this is the home of the Vapor Hunter Boner, except no substitutions. Speaking of John Luke, I am working on your panhead, bro. It's just taking me a long time. That thing was filthy. We have a focus. I have a focus on passion for vintage motorcycle and tool restorations, friendlier service, even friendlier prices. Contact me today for a free quote or a joke. I like DMs, but email works too. Rhino@lowlifechopperpodcast.com. Last but not least, Loctite's motherfucking chop shop.
And also not last, but conveniently located in Epping, New Hampshire, the motherfucking center of the universe. And listen, I'm not kidding when I say that. It says that on the fucking Epping sign when you roll into town, baby.
Why do they say that?
I have no idea. It's Epping, the center of the universe, and the home of 3 governors. Whatever the fuck that means.
3 governors?
Yeah, I don't fucking know, dude. This is a weird fucking town. But anyways, I'm here.
Don't go together.
If you need some pinstriping, hit me the fuck up. Whether you want garage signage, oil cans, not Christmas ornaments. Actually, I have a whole box of Christmas ornaments. Whatever the fuck you need. You need your bike fucking pinstripe. Let me know and we'll make it happen, capping. Hit me up, Loctite Chop Shop on Instagram or Loctite Chop Shop at lowlifechopperpodcast.com. Last but not least, this show.
lowlifechopperpodcast.com. It's really the only chopper podcast that you need to listen to. I can't even name another chopper specific podcast. We're the only one.
This is your home. Choppers for sure.
For sure. I mean, there's other great motorcycle podcasts out there, but for chopper content, who else is doing a chopper 101, huh? Who else forbids anybody on this show that has springs in their rear? I don't know. I haven't met them. Some people are like, 2 wheels, 2 wheels. Not here. You need to be hardtailed, okay, to be in our club. But lowlifechopperpodcast.com. Thank you, everybody that's buying the merch. We have some sick merch out there right now, but we have big plans. We got some designs forthcoming. That store is just going to explode. Check us out on YouTube. We got that new Choppin 101. That's been really well received. Tell us what you want to see, because me and Loctite, we do it all. I think that's it for the sponsors.
That's it. Listen, this concludes your 5-part, not mini series, Choppin'
Major
101.
series.
If there's another series you want to hear, or if there are subjects you want to hear us fucking talk about, hit us on the fucking DM, Lowlife Chopper Podcast on Instagram. If you don't have Instagram, hit us, one of us, Loctite or Rhino, at lowlifechopperpodcast.com. You can find all that at lowlifechopperpodcast.com. Every link to everything for this show is on that one motherfucking website.
Right there, buddy.
As usual, we appreciate you tuning in this week, and we will see you motherfuckers next week for an episode with Perry from Operation Purpose.